Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing the sleeper hit of 2017. We missed out on it the first time around, but now we are all better for having seen the film called Wish Upon.
I think we should redo the year-end show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we gotta go back.
I have some thoughts.
Roll it back.
I am the host for this evening. Joining me tonight, first up, he drinks beer. His name is Joe.
I'm both of those things right now. So hello, hi, everyone.
Joe, I'd like to talk about Kendra Wilkinson's new music video, but first up, from Indiana, his name is Casey.
I'm just a flirt.
And last up tonight, coming to us from Manhattan, New York City. No Deep V tonight because we get a little taste of the Schnarr's work clothes tonight because he hasn't even changed. Please welcome John Schnarrs.
Hey guys.
You know what my favorite part of this movie was, John?
Mm-hmm. The dad.
I feel
obviously.
like, well, related.
So many things.
Related, but I feel like Ryan Phillippe's awful patchy beard is what it might look like if you tried to grow a beard.
100%.
Yeah.
It's very, very. It's why I don't grow a beard, because I see people like him and I'm disgusted, and I'm like, I can't.
It's
be
like
that.
It's like that episode of South Park where the kids glue pubes to their face. That's kind of what it's like.
Oh man, we're gonna go down a little bit of a hole, I think, on the career of Ryan Phillippe here.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So Mark will be joining us tonight, but as you know, he now does what he wants, so it'll be a little bit. John Schnarrs.
Yes.
The Academy Awards have done some things this week.
You mean the what is it? The Academy of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences?
The Oscars.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. The Oscar is the name of the trophy, not But all right, continue.
You're killing my segue. Just tell me about
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, why am I getting called out? I actually have probably done the least amount of research on this.
it. You seem smart.
I mean, the big news, obviously, list of nominations. I believe 4 total nominations for Get Out.
Yeah.
Including Best Picture and Best Director and Best Actor. Yeah. Those were the 4.
Poor Allison Williams, man. If you're like grading people on a scale in that movie, she's pretty good in that movie.
I totally agree. I mean, I think ultimately what it comes down to is like she would have been supporting. You know, there's a different type that gets the supporting nods, and I don't know. There just wasn't a ton of like energy around her.
I think
her nomination.
it proves that people do not like to see people eat cereal without milk. That
Also,
was the deciding factor.
The no, and then the other big news, obviously, Shape of Water, which we've talked a little bit about on the show. We've actually still yet to cover, but I think we'll probably get to it. 13 nominations for our buddy Guillermo. I think we just call him Guillermo, right? That's what you guys how we do.
G-Tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GDT. Yeah, so 13 nominations. Pretty sweet.
Kelly
Pretty
from
I think the most, right? It's the
Yeah,
most
it was.
nominated film.
Kelly from Nighty Living Podcast used to call him Guillermo del Momo, and that's always stuck in my head. So that's pretty much all I hear whenever I hear his name.
It was
But-
borderline inappropriate.
But yeah, been a lot. Not in that way, Joe. But yeah, I think like a super impressive turnout for genre movies. People, I think, are rightfully excited. I also think, I don't know, horror fans are quick to be like butthurt about stuff. So you're already hearing a lot of people complaining about the like, well, now it's going to be called a psychological thriller, and it's like, dude, we're never gonna win that battle, man. Just move on. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm with Joe. Who cares? Like, that's nonsense. And like, if Jordan Peele gets to get up and give a speech at the Oscars, it will be gold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree.
Not to mention if the end result of this is more studios throwing money at Jordan Peele and say, make us horror movies.
yeah.
I also
Bring
feel
it
like
on.
like if any of those noms he's likely to get, well, it could be screenplay. Although, like the only thing is like his toughest competition might be Del Toro. I don't know if that one also got screenplay.
Yeah, it did. It best original screenplay. I think they're both nominated there.
But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what's fascinating about Get Out, right? Is just the whole concept is brilliant and just so different.
So it seems to me that the director, and like I actually haven't seen a lot of the films this year. I mean, we watch a lot of films for this podcast, and then as we've probably discussed, like as you have children come into your life, you get to watch fewer films that aren't related to this podcast.
We have yet to hit Lady Bird on this show.
No, that's not
Yeah.
true. That's not true, John.
Soon, I hope.
John, I'm actually watching lots of movies that aren't on the podcast now, but they're all animated, and they're all like 90% of them.
Well-
90% of them have the trolls in them.
Dude,
Can we talk about the
that's a
bullshit of
separate-
Baby Boss getting nominated then? Because
Yeah.
that thing's a fucking joke.
I knew you'd be pissed.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw
But-
it in the theater. It was fucking awful.
I'll forever think of Baby Boss because when we did our BGH business trip last year, where we hatched the plan for the 10-year, outside of the hotel was a
Oh,
giant
that's right.
billboard for Baby Boss.
It's
Aw.
Boss Baby.
Baby
Is it?
Boss.
Yeah, it's the Boss Baby.
Did Joe say
Oh.
Baby Boss? Is that why I said that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I did
Yeah.
I'll be your baby boss,
I-
baby boss,
I
baby
actually-
boss. I'll be
I
your
think-
baby boss.
Chili.
I think the book is pretty good. I don't know if you guys had the book for your kids.
It's a
like,
book?
Yeah, it was a
No.
book. It's a kid's book.
Before the movie?
Yes, it's like
Jesus, John.
All
Are
right.
you even
Sorry,
gonna
I-
pull
I
that
slacked
shit with
off.
kids movies?
I saw it. I slacked
Oh, I
off
like
on
the
my
book, yeah.
corporate training for my daughter when she was a baby.
In any event, what I was going to say about Jordan Peele is my
I didn't
guess
like Baby
is-
Boss, but did you read the book?
I think I think Eric is right. I think it probably will get, if it gets anything, it will probably get the best original screenplay. I feel like Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk is I don't know. I haven't seen the odds. I don't know if anyone's like looked at the betting odds on these things, but that seems to be the one
Mm,
that
mm.
a lot of heat, a lot of energy. There.
That's one Dunkirk's one I haven't seen. I think I need to get caught up on.
But yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Just like on podcasts and like some shit I've read.
Much like Game of Thrones, I hear the Boss Baby book is actually way more violent. So I don't know. I might want to check it out.
It's-
There's a lot
the
more
book is
mythos.
cute.
There's more dragons.
Yeah.
But this is what happens anytime they like take a kid's book and they turn it into a movie. Like it's gonna be shitty. You're like stretching a book that's literally has like
Well,
50 words in it.
Dude,
and
don't
you're
get me-
trying to make a
Yeah.
2-hour
don't get
movie
me
out of it.
Could
started-
never sound more pretentious than you do.
don't get me started on children's books. So I started reading Lily Harry Potter because I literally was like, I can't read another garbage ass kids book. Like, children's books is the biggest racket on earth. I'm
Oh,
not saying
see, I
there aren't.
disagree.
I'm not saying there aren't like some interesting ones, whatever, good messages. But any fucking idiot can write a children's. Some of them have legit like 20 words in them.
All right.
It's-
We actually should like do an Eric show about this because I have like very strong opinions on children's
They're the
books
worst. So
now.
I was like, forget it. I'm
I
reading
actually really
her.
enjoy like good ones.
I was like,
Yeah, me
forget it.
too.
I'm reading her adult books. I mean, but Harry Potter is like a kid's book. It's just not. I'm talking like little kid
Eric,
baby books.
She's like 1.5
Yeah.
years old.
She loves it.
She's not getting anything out of that
No,
experience.
you can read her Helter Skelter.
It has
and she's gonna do
pictures.
the same.
John, when my kid is a brilliant scientist someday, I will point back to this moment.
Or she thinks she's a wizard. You know,
Or she's
either way.
just Fucking nerd by the age 4.
To be
That's
fair, I
fine.
read Delaney all of Harry Potter when she was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So, but it works out good for bedtime because those books are huge and there's a fuck ton of them,
Well-
and you can read them for like years.
Yeah, and they make picture versions that have like nice illustrations and stuff. So
Oh, there you go. All right. Yeah. Listen, stand corrected then. I
as
guess.
long as we're on the subject too, like I don't understand why Slytherin is a thing. It seems like you might want to just nip that in the bud before it gets out of control.
Oh, you
Just
mean like why
saying.
they let it exist?
Yeah, like
Maybe.
right.
I
It
think
doesn't.
that's called profiling.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're not all evil, Eric. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
Well,
just
that's-
grumpy.
I'm not convinced.
Mhm.
I haven't finished first book yet, so we'll see.
I love. Oh my God, Eric catching up on pop culture from like literally 15 years ago is the best. It's actually more than 15 years, I think, since the first one.
Yeah,
It's
What's
like,
the
closer
deal
to
with this
17.
Friends show?
Were they?
Ross, Rachel?
Well, no, TV I'm into. I know every Friends episode. Come
will
on,
they
Joe.
or won't they,
Yeah.
Joe?
They're taking a break.
We were on a break.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so,
remember
yeah.
what show it was just since we brought up Friends, but I saw Janice on a modern show last night
Hmm.
in a guest role. Janice,
Janice.
Like modern, as in like
Oh,
just.
God.
Janice from Friends, Joe.
I didn't watch that show. It was fucking garbage.
Oh, dude, that show's great. Show
Oh.
shows.
Disagree.
Yeah, I'm with Joe. I'm gonna stand with Joe on this one.
Yeah. Ross alone is enough to not watch that show.
Great.
I'll take that from John, but we know the TV you watch, Joe.
Yeah. I feel like this episode every week it just becomes about Joe drawing really bizarre, arbitrary lines in the sand about what's okay and what
There.
isn't.
They're absolutely insane. Joe.
Oh Lord. Wait, you wanted to talk about a Kendra Wilkinson video?
No, I
apparently?
don't know.
That's-
Joe posted some dumb music video in Slack. Speaking of Joe's taste in things.
That thing is also 2 years old, and like I won't explain like how I stumbled upon it, but she has a YouTube page with legit like 5 videos, and 4 of them are just like weird interviews that she did, and then 1 is that music video that nobody had ever
It's
heard
this
of.
awful song, and then it's all like the clips are all from the original Lost in Space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And she's wearing like an alien suit. It's real weird.
she's like spliced in. Like it seems like they took an episode and spliced her in as like the female interest of one of the characters. It's super weird.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to get ready for the show, and I hadn't been on Slack and seen it. So Casey sent it to me, and I literally just turned my head and I stopped what I was doing and I watched the entire video, and then turned
Oh,
back and I
it's-
was like, I don't know what I was doing before this started.
It's
See, I was
hypnotic.
actually slightly disappointed because I got all excited and I sent it to Colleen because she's watched all of Kendra's shows and all that crap. And then she tweeted me back and said that, it's actually like a couple years old. And I'm like, oh, I think I was
Yeah.
more excited that it was like something she threw out to try and save her career instead of
Yeah.
in the middle of it.
Right. Because yeah, that's what my first thought was like. God, how long has she been around? Man,
American Treasure.
I don't go in. So we're talking about Slack a lot. If you become a patron, you get an invite to the Slack. It's basically like a message board broken down to topics, so you can just kind of hang out all day and chat with BGH crew and our fans and all that good stuff. But I was gonna say I don't really hang out in the club BGH Slack that often, which is our music channel, because it too often just diverts into talk of like Joe's music, which is foreign and scary to me, and I don't really understand. So I just kind of move on.
Yeah,
Write it down. in
People,
the thing.
there's a group of people like hardcore club BGH people that are way into that thread.
you'd be surprised because I think more than scary music, you see more conversations with Joe and Brian, I believe it is, talking bluegrass music.
Yeah, it's kind of it's tamed out a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
It's interesting to see the way that they just they take turns though. It's like 1 or 2 days
Oh,
dropping
yeah.
this, and it's like this. Somebody comes in with a random comment, and the whole thread just takes a hard R, like right in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
Fun.
great. It's a great distraction from work. I will give it that vote of
That
confidence.
it is.
I try to dip in very frequently. I very infrequently can watch videos because I'm usually reading it while I'm sitting in meetings
Oh.
and like trying
Yeah.
to not make it obvious that I'm scrolling down through Slack.
Oh, speaking
So-
of Slack, we should mention I let the book club in Slack vote on my next book, and
Oh, yeah.
a bunch of people voted. I left it up all weekend. Then this thing started happening where people were noticing there was like 1 vote away, and they were voting or changing their votes so that to keep them tied. So I kept having to like ping the channel to like come and try to break the tie. So anyway, by 1 vote, Leviathan Wakes, the first book in the Expanse series, I believe. Does that sound right?
I think
Yep.
this is the series called the Expanse series. I thought the show was just called that.
I think that I think it's like an Amazon now. Like same thing with Game of Thrones. If you go look at those books, they're like the first in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Game of Thrones series. I think it's one of those.
Yeah.
That's the overarching thing. The title of the books, I think, has always been The Expanse, and then the book title is the series is The Expanse.
Yeah, I've read Leviathan Wakes. That one I have read, and I
Wait.
haven't read the second one yet.
But that's important to know, Eric, that you should go keep it on tap for after you finish the book. There is a show based on that book on Sci-Fi Channel, at least 2 seasons worth. I don't know if it's still going or not.
Nice.
It's called
And
Expanse Revolution.
Number two was Annihilation, which I probably am still gonna read. I'm just gonna wait to see the movie, maybe, and then just decide if it's something I'm into. Because it's
That was the one I thought you really wanted to read.
yeah.
So I didn't vote for it.
But
just to
I
be
looked
clear.
at the release of the movie, and it's like in February, and I'm not convinced I can. It's short, but I want to be able to. I would want to know that I could finish it by then. Joe gets it.
Mhm.
What's the one that John said you were too stupid to read? Was it that one?
Annihilation.
Yeah, that was
Annihilation.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'll read
He's gonna read the back cover.
I'll
and
read
then maybe
Leviathan
inside flap.
Wakes, and then if I'm cool with like taking a break from that series, I'm not gonna just read that whole series unless I'm like in love with it.
I actually bought. There's the original trilogy. I just bought it, so I have the second and third one. I just haven't read them yet.
Nice. So yeah, and then I'll probably check out Annihilation. I'm like nervous because
Now everybody knows that you're reading a book. And they're
no,
gonna,
I've been so fastidious about reading because of how much I love the Song of Ice and Fire series, and I'm worried that I'm going to get into some other thing and be like, nah, I don't really care about this, and then
Yeah.
I'll power through.
Well, that's why I think Leviathan Wakes is going to be a good choice for you, because there's a lot of similarities on like the sheer amount of characters that are in there and how they jump around to different POVs, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the POV thing is one of the most brilliant parts of that series is just how that changes the narrative.
Right.
So there you go, Leviathan Wakes. Check back with me next year, John, and I'll tell you what I thought. Now, although honestly, after Dance with Dragons,
it's a little long.
after Dance with Dragons, though, I'm like not that worried about it. Like
Yeah, no, well, true. Those
I
books
thought
are
I would
too
be
long.
done with it by now, but that book just literally keeps going. It's like he's
Yeah.
writing more pages of it as I'm reading it, and it
Yeah.
just never fucking ends.
Thought I was closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you.
All right, Joe.
Yes, sir.
You know what I bet listening to me talk about books makes you want to do?
Mm.
What do you think it is?
Drink a beer.
There you go. Yeah. Why don't you tell us what we're drinking tonight?
Beer guts.
I know you think I'm a big dum dum, but I've already knocked out 2 of CC's books for this year.
Wow, nice work, buddy.
Boom.
Go you.
Yeah. The problem is, as you said, like I planned so far in advance that I finished like the one for December and the one for like May. So by the time they get to discuss it, I'm gonna completely forget it. But you know, what are you gonna do?
That's fine.
All right. Wish Upon, a fun little tale of a young lass who discovers a wishing box, which has the power to not only grant her wishes, but there's also a price you pay because someone has to drop dead for that wish to come true.
Mm.
It's the blood
Uh,
price. The blood.
It's
the blood.
It's the blood
blood
price,
price.
which is paid in wontons.
Yeah.
it's
No, I think the proper term is tons.
That's right.
she's a real fucking slut for tons. So, in honor of the blood price, I picked a beer from the good folks up at Good City Brewing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this beer is simply called Risk, which is their IPA that is quite delicious. Good City is a smaller brewery up there. They can their stuff, but it doesn't distribute super far. So if we ever do another BGH 12-year, 14-year, whatever anniversary up there, you can check this one out. But it's a straightforward IPA, so you know we've talked about this a lot. There's just a ton of hops in there, but surprisingly drinkable. Even though it comes in at about 6.5% alcohol, so a little bit higher than your average beer. But very sort of smooth, not like over the top where, you know, you drink like one of these and you feel like your mouth is, you know, completely blown away and you can't taste anything else but hops. I really like everything that Good City puts out. They I think are fairly new if I remember off the top of my head, but everything they do is great, and you should definitely check them out if you can.
Nice.
Their website is goodcitybrewing.com, and there you go.
Thank you for that,
quick
Joe.
one.
I will say, celebrating a 14-year anniversary seems a little weird, but I'll tell
Yeah,
you what. If we don't think we're gonna make it to 15, why don't we just do it at 14?
Yeah.
And then-
Well,
Yeah.
There
at
you
this
go.
rate, we should
Good
do it.
call.
Huh?
yeah. All right, guys. We're just gonna jump into it now because we have a surprising amount of things to talk about tonight. So let's take a quick break so that we can review Wish Upon.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars,
Yes, Eric.
you went to Duke.
Affirmative.
What was your degree in again?
Literature.
Oh, okay. That's right. I always forget that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Words.
Did you do anything with it?
Was it children's literature?
I mean, knowing that makes Schnars' whole life just way more impressiff, doesn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah,
already pretty
yeah,
impressive, but doing all right for himself over there.
Yeah,
with
thanks,
That is a
guys.
solid point. You should be a fucking homeless man.
that. But
It's definitely borderline homeless person degree.
You should be you should be asking me if I want a grande or a venti.
that literature degree, what it did do though, is teach you a bunch of words. And every
Mhm,
week here in the show, you bring us a word that pertains to that week's movie. So let's do that right now with the word of the day. going back to basics with these intro schnars. I'm kind of reintroducing the character. I'm workshopping it a little bit.
No, that's cool. Let's go back to brass tacks and we'll build. We build from there. Today's word is hankering. Hankering.
Hanker for a hunk of cheese.
Hankering is a strong
Is that,
desire.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Is that after school?
Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yes, it is.
That's
that
what
little dancing guy.
Yeah, whenever I hear the word hanker or hunker, I just think of hanker for a hunk of cheese.
I have no idea what you're talking
Little
about.
fat round cheese guy, and he's got a cane. He's dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hanker for a hunka.
No,
That
Hanker
is
for a
amazing.
chunka.
A hankering is a strong desire to
Sorry.
have or do something. And it obviously, the root here is hanker, the verb meaning to feel a strong desire for or to do something. So interesting that the origin here is like somewhat in dispute, it looks like. They're saying it is probably related to the word hang, like H-A-N-G. They also then compare with the Dutch word hunkeren.
Oh, nice.
Hunkeren. I don't know.
I
A
mean,
Dutch person can tell
You
me how
are
to
the
pronounce
person. You are the person to bring us that Dutch word. So
Yeah, I know. I should know more about the Dutch, but what are you gonna do? So
great.
Yeah, hankering.
I should point out there's a picture of Cheese Man in the chat now and the video. So, oh, that's even better, Joe, with the words and everything.
The words, yeah. Wow,
I mean-
I have not thought about that in years.
I think about it all the time. Like
Yeah.
anytime cheese comes up, I just think of that dude.
I am gonna now. Oh, there's T-shirts with us on it.
That's great.
Yeah. All right.
Even better.
What's the Schoolhouse Rocks?
Listen, we got a lot of rabbit holes we're gonna want to go down here. So
You know, we talk a lot about the death of the monoculture and like how, people just won't have shared experiences to remember now. But like, Schoolhouse Rocks, man, you want to talk about some dumb, awesome shit that people remember and can reminisce about.
well, people like our age, maybe, but
I'm just a bill.
yeah.
Do you guys remember the album? I bet Joe does. That came out, Schoolhouse Rocks. It was all bands like.
Oh, I remember
Blind
Blind
Melon and
Melon.
stuff.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
3 is the magic number.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
That's
it was
great.
good
There was
stuff.
that, which was great, and then there was a Saturday morning cartoons album that
Yep.
came out. What had like all like bands.
They had
doing stuff.
because they had Matthew Sweet doing Scooby Doo.
Yeah, Sublime did Hong Kong Phooey. It's-
Oh, that's
it's
great.
doing-
You know what? I'm
remote-
going to leave this
yeah.
picture up. I'm going to make it small and leave it here the whole video because I'm just thinking about it now. All right, John Schnars. You know what
Yeah.
you know what I hanker for?
Oh God.
Your synopsis.
Mm.
I'm just gonna be upfront and say this synopsis could last for the next 40 minutes. So Joe, strap in.
I got some
We-
stuff I can take care of.
Sweet, text me when you're done.
Yeah.
So Wish Upon. This is a film written by Barbara Marshall, who actually she's written one other sort of feature. There's a film called Viral, which I had not heard of, but was directed by the guys who did Catfish, like the Catfish movie.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that's something. And it is directed by a gentleman who we actually are surprisingly familiar with. His name is John Leonetti. It came to my attention earlier today. I don't know if Mark found this out or someone else, but his first directorial credit is for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He has been the cinematographer on a ton of the Wandaverse stuff. So he did the first Conjuring film. He's done Insidious 2. He's also the director of Annabelle 1.
Huh. Not that great.
So, yeah, I mean, he's got like an interesting sort of.
That's a
I don't know.
crazy filmography is what that is. Like that's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and we can get into it as we talk about Wish Upon. So Wish Upon, I think, yeah, if we're gonna keep it short, Joe sort of teed it up, but you basically have Claire. She, the film opens and we see Claire's mother, kind of like basically somewhat shadily throwing something away out in the garbage. She like wraps it up and throws it away. This is when Claire's maybe like 4 or 5, something like that. The mom then goes back inside, and Claire like comes back in behind her, runs up and finds the mom to have recently hung herself in their attic, I guess, or like sort of
Which is
upstairs.
actually kind of an effective scene.
Yeah. I mean,
Kind of.
kind of ridiculous, but like we'll get into it obviously, but like the entire tone of this film is just,
I mean,
completely batshit crazy.
yeah, it's not Pratt falls in the bathtub hilarious, but
Sure,
Wow,
but
that's pretty close.
I was gonna say, like, even the way they kind of like frame some of those scenes, though, it's just it's almost like they're, I don't know, it's not well done. Like it's not comically done, but it's also like, I don't know. There's a level of ineptitude that makes it somewhat amusing. So especially with the whole, but whatever, we can get into that scene later. So the mom has now passed. Flash forward, let's say 10 years, maybe 12. Basically, now you have Claire. She's in high school. She's a junior, I believe. She is brutally bullied by the popular clique, like just like comically bullied, where they're like throwing garbage on her and just like doing things to her that are just so over the top mean that it's just like, belies, or it's beyond belief in some instances. But
you always say that when we review like teenagery movies, like every single time, and it makes me think you were never bullied.
Yeah, I don't think this bullying was that awful.
like, are people like, in my high school, there was never, and I don't mean myself, but I mean like no one threw garbage on anyone else. That was like not a thing that I remember.
I don't
happening.
remember that happening, but I also, that was a few years ago.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the
Maybe high
bullying
school
has
is
been
different
taken up
now?
a few.
Oh,
notches.
you're okay. I see. Well, with the social media and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
don't think my high school was in color.
In any event,
Doesn't call it.
she's definitely, she's a nerd. She has two nerd friends. One of them is Barb. We don't actually know the actress's name. I don't know if anyone looked this up. But the woman, the actress made famous as Barb in Stranger Things.
Oh my God, we have to have a whole section of the show is gonna be devoted to her. I'm sorry,
We're gonna,
I can't.
We'll get into Barb. No, for sure. But yeah, so basically, her father, played by Ryan Phillippe, he is a dumpster diver. That is, it is not his. It's unclear if it's his profession. We don't think it's his profession. We think
Dumpster
this is more,
diver with a dirt stash is what you meant to say.
yeah, he and literally he spends like most of the film, most of the scenes that he is in involve him either talking about going dumpster diving or actually being dumpster diving. And in one of these sequences, he finds in one of the neighbors' houses trash this box that has, I believe, is it Chinese writing? I guess it is, right? Because I think that's like the woman she eventually goes to talk to is, I believe, translating like ancient Chinese. And so they find this box. It has all this like sort of ancient Chinese writing on it. So that she doesn't really know what's going on, but somehow she like makes a wish to it. How does I'm actually forgetting now how the first wish happens. But she basically she figures out that like when she's wishing for things, they're happening. And initially, what she doesn't realize is when she does that, like people around her die in horrible ways. So there's essentially like 3 or 4 wishes where she wishes for something, it happens. It usually like backfires terribly because she's partially because she's making like terrible teenagery wishes, and then partially just because like, I don't know, it's an evil wish box. But then you also get that wish followed with like, I don't want to say like super gruesome kill sequence, but like some of them are just like, I mean, they're all pretty funny, but they're like gruesome funny.
This was PG-13, I assume, right?
Yeah, it was.
All right.
Yeah, and so then it's basically this whole like kind of she, along with the guy who plays Dong on Kimmy Schmidt, and
Who plays a
like,
high school student in this movie?
yeah, he's playing like he's like a 28-year-old in Kimmy Schmidt, and then he's like a junior in high school in this film. And then her two friends, like they're basically trying to like solve the mystery of this box, like sort of what's the deal, like what are you gonna do, and then like ultimately try to like escape from the outcome of that it's her mom had the box at one point, and she's trying to like escape the outcome that her mom ended with. So yeah,
sure. Hey Joe, what'd you think of this movie? Top movie of 2017? What this made your list?
I mean, it's funny. We posted the pic, like a teaser pic on Instagram, saying that we're watching this, and someone made a snooty comment. They're like, "Oh, gee, I wonder what they're gonna think." I think we all are a little surprised at how much fun we had with this. It's not a good movie by any means. Like there is a ton of like laughable things going on here. You know, Ryan Phillippe or whatever the hell his name is, playing the saxophone and being a dumpster diver is one. Like there's one kill in particular that really stuck out to me of the guy in the bathtub where like there might as well have been like yakety sax playing where he like falls and then like sits up and like bashes his head and like it was and then the finale that we'll kinda
Yakety
get
sax would have been appropriate too.
to. So I think this is a great movie to sit around with a bunch of friends and watch and just goof on. By no means is it good, but I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm curious, and we kind of talk about it, like what everybody would have thought of this if we had actually gone and seen this in the theater. I gotta imagine our reactions would have been a lot different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably less when I say favorable, we can get to it, but like not. It was more tolerable than I expected, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it was fun, but not good by any means.
Casey.
Yeah, mine pretty right there along with Joe, and I think we'll all end up agreeing from our pre-show discussions. But yeah, I would have been angry if we would have paid money to go see this in the theater. But seeing it on video once it comes out, stuff like that, it was a lot more tolerable. I think if you get the right crowd, this is something that plays well with the MST3K treatment kind of thing. So if you get a kick of sitting around with friends, drinking a couple beers, and ripping on movies, this is a good one for it. It's I don't even know of a whole lot positive to say about it to try and remain positive, but at the same time we've seen far worse movies. But what was the one with the magic blind kid that Wes Craven made?
My Soul to Take.
My Soul to Take.
Yeah. This is close to that, but it's actually a little bit better.
It's funny you say
So-
that because Mark today said to me, "This is like the new My Soul to Take."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
fair point. So
We were all a lot, I think, pretty upset at My Soul to Take, and again because we went and saw and like spent time going to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Uh,
I feel like you guys are being like, in some ways, like pretty generous. This movie.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
well-
think it's really really bad.
It's
but
terrible. Yeah.
we like. So for me, like my experience watching this, I was like sitting here. I had a big glass of wine, and I'm like on my computer watching it. And then at some point, I like emailed you guys, or somebody else was watching. Basically, like 2 or 3 of us were watching it at the exact same time. And we then like there was like a 20 email thread of just like people just being like, "Holy shit! Like I can't believe this just happened! Like what is that?" And like if we didn't have that email thread, even that would have reduced my enjoyment a little
That's
bit.
a valid point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such an insane movie. Like you can talk about the writing, you can talk about the acting, like even the direction is just it like the look and feel of this movie is so bizarre. It like makes me want to go back and watch Annabelle and just like see if it's this director, if he just like I don't know, it's like he doesn't really understand like what makes things scary. I don't know. It's very strange. So
I don't know though, but I mean, I understand your point, but the fact that he's been on a cinematographer on so many movies that we've had on here and even somewhat enjoyed, it's makes it even more bizarre on how this movie ended up coming out looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you tell me what you thought of this movie?
Oh my god, I loved it so much.
Okay. Could you give me
I
thoughts?
think this may be my favorite bad movie we've watched in a long time. Can you guys hear me without freezing on me?
Yeah.
you're
No,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
we-
here's the deal with this movie. I think that Joe kind of
lay it out.
I think that Joe kind of hit it on the head. Like, I was expecting to be angry by it. I probably would have been angry by it if I had seen it in the theater. And normally, like, here's the funny thing about this thing, though. Like, normally I would, with a bad movie like this, if we're watching at home, I'll do it over like 2 sittings.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
I stayed up late to finish watching this movie because I like wanted to see what was going to happen next. There is but what I think it is, like, I don't think this movie is trying to be funny in any way whatsoever.
No.
That to me is the ultimate debate: is how much is
I don't think at
intentional
all,
versus-
which is what makes it so fun and so funny. Like to me, we talk about it, it makes it like truly campy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got no self-awareness. I think in a lot of ways, it's not a movie. Like I said, I expected to be angry about it, but right away you're kind of just like, we talk about this, but this is definitely not a movie for us. This is very starter horror-y, very teen oriented,
Yeah.
but also is
any
just
teens that are bullied, trash thrown on them in high school, you're gonna be into this.
like this. Definitely, it feels like a script written by an old person who's never spoken to a teen in their life. You know, like sometimes they just lean really hard into the teen rhetoric, and you can just tell it. There's just no place of like genuineness that it's coming from. The acting is unbelievably. Ryan Phillippe is bewildering in that he is so out of his league trying to play like a white trash. Like the only role that Ryan Phillippe can play is like his role from I Know What You Did Last Summer, like a rich, spoiled white kid.
oh,
Basically,
you didn't
that's
even
all
go
he
Cruel
can do.
Intentions.
Same-
yeah,
but it's the
yeah,
same-
they're pretty good in
Cruel
Cruel
Intentions.
Intentions.
But my point is, it's the same character. Like here
Yeah,
he's
yeah, oh, great.
Oh,
here,
yeah.
here he's trying to be this like down on his luck, ragged, rugged like white trash
mean-
dude. He's kind of portrayed as a hoarder, but really he's kind of just like a dumpster diver.
I mean, there is the potential that like he hasn't worked in a while, and they were filming and still trying to figure out who the dad was. Saw him across the street
In a
actually
dumpster.
Digging in the
diving.
Aaron,
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you mean he's a dumpster daddy.
Dumpster daddy. Well, like
Yes.
he so the movie I was dying 2 minutes into this movie because it opens and we find out opening scene, the biggest thing they want to tell us is that she's kind of ashamed of her dad for being a dumpster diver. They talk about it in the house or whatever. And then after like the suicide scene.
She-
And then
Literally just like, Dad, can you just stay out of the dumpster?
yeah,
like,
just yeah.
that's all I'm asking.
They go to
Not
the
even
school.
the dumpster, like the dumpster across from my school. All
Yeah.
others are fine.
Well, so they go to
Yeah.
school, and she pulls in, and then suddenly she like looks over, and they have made zero attempt to make this like spatially make any sense whatsoever. They have like the production crew has placed dumpsters like on the sidewalk across from the school with no reason for them to be there, no business, anything in sight that would like make you want a dumpster. And Ryan Phillippe's just like ass over tea kettle, like in the dumpster, pulling shit out. And of course, all the mean girls walk by right at that point and see him, and it's like really embarrassing for her. And it's like, I was dying. It's so funny. And then we can talk about it later, but there's a callback to the dumpster thing later in the movie that I was like legitimately crying, laughing about because
he just can't stop.
he can't
Yeah.
quit. He can't quit those dumpsters.
He's got dumpster fever. We never actually find out why he's doing this either.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
He just likes it. I think
It's
he
un-
just enjoys
He
it.
pulls things out. And he's like, I could use this. For what?
it's unclear. Yeah, like if you go to IMDb, it says the dad is a hoarder, but also like watching it, you get the sense because like he doesn't seem to have a job, so you get the sense that I don't know, maybe he's like scrapping, or he makes
Yeah.
or he like makes things or fixes things and
That's
sells
what I was
them.
expecting.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get this big reveal at the end. I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. He was making like this sculpture for her or something. But no, nothing.
I mean, somebody's buying that PBR that he's drinking every day, so they got
Yes,
money's
but-
got to be coming from somewhere.
But if he's supposed to be a hoarder, like also that house is pretty empty. Like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
hoarding is for curtain rods. These are
Yeah, that's what caught me surprised when I looked it up on Wikipedia. That saw that they said that he was a compulsive hoarder because where does he keep his hoard? Maybe he just likes digging it out of the trash. Maybe that's the extent.
But
of his
also,
hoarder-
like the
hoarding.
house, like I feel like it wouldn't have cost a lot of money to make that house actually look like a hoarder house and not just a pretty neat house with a couple things like in the corner of the living room.
Yeah,
So Ryan Phillippe is just way out of his league. Like I wouldn't even say he's slumming it, but he's out of place, right? He doesn't seem like he should be there. That's funny. They're writing this hilarious
Well,
like
hold on. He doesn't
saxophone
really
side.
seem like he should be anywhere. Like to Joe's point, I don't think he's like working a ton.
Yeah.
And like this was just like not the right role for him. Like
I've got to imagine there's a lot of Hollywood parties that go on where people say Ryan Phillippe really shouldn't be here.
that's
It's a
just,
common. It's a
that's
common
just
thing.
mean.
They
Poor
none of
guy.
the teens seem to have very much acting experience, and it shows. But the thing is like, so Barb is in this movie from Stranger Things, and all of the other teens that seemingly have zero movie
Barb as
experience,
Barb.
Like all the other teens who seemingly have no acting experience, seem so much more comfortable on camera than she does. If you like, a fun drinking game is to watch this movie, and anytime Barb is on screen, no matter if she's talking or not, stare at her and take a drink every time she looks confused, or like she doesn't know how to react to something, or she doesn't know what to do with the camera on her. I swear to God, she like looks at the camera once. It's like you were on.
It's
Yeah,
funny
but
because you were hitting on it a lot, like while you were watching this. I didn't like
Dude,
notice it really,
so
and then you started talking
distracting.
about it, and I was like,
I couldn't
it's not
stop.
great.
I couldn't stop watching her when she was on. Like her reactions were like, you're talking to somebody that's so drunk that they can't speak, but they're trying. Schnars, I've seen you literally do this exact same thing.
I
But
was
you're
gonna say,
but you're
no,
trying to hold a
never seen that.
conversation with your face when someone's talking. You're just like, you're just like making facial expressions.
Permanently like pulled over by the cops after smoking weed, trying to
Yes.
act like she's not high.
Yeah.
To be somewhat generous to Barb, her name by the way is Shannon Purser. This is her first
Barb.
credit.
Got it.
This is
Barb.
her first ever credit.
Yeah, I mean
Like
that's the thing is,
before
is if
Stranger
you
Things?
think about it, she's
Yeah.
very young. She's probably inexperienced, and she had zero to do on Stranger Things. She was in like 4 scenes maybe.
Well,
So
and
yeah, I get it. It's just like it's funny because
she didn't
the-
exactly have like great directorial like sort of
Well,
guidance.
but the
you know,
internet
or
has-
clearly.
the internet has
Yeah.
made her such a thing, and then
Yeah.
and it's really, to be fair, it's the character, right? It's not her per se. But then you see her, and you're kind of paying attention, and it's not great.
I don't
So-
think
I mean,
like,
how
I'm
would
giving
you-
anything away, but like that scene where she falls down the stairs, like I legit was like almost wet myself. I laughed so hard. Like it looks like she just took like a running dive and like slid down the stairs. Like this good coach.
I mean, come on, Erica. Think how you would react if the director asked you to pretend you were a 17-year-old who thought Ryan Felipe was hot.
Yeah.
I don't want to
There
say
you go.
anything, but when your dad plays a saxophone, he's super hot.
Your dad is like
Uh,
major hot.
I actually thought the main actress was also really bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But again, like
But to be
I
fair,
actually
it's
would
all, like,
attribute most of it to the writing.
The script is so bad. It's hilariously bad. Yeah.
Like I
So
felt
it's-
bad for her at times. Like
I
it was
mean,
just
yeah.
insane.
It in a weird way, it kind of rips off the structure of The Craft. So in The Craft, the girls get together
You mentioned this,
and
I
they cast a
realized.
spell, and then suddenly they can grant themselves wishes. And the first 2 wishes are, actually, it's all The Craft. Nev Campbell wishes another girl's hair to fall out or something, so that happens.
No,
The-
no.
Oh, okay.
That
Joe,
is the
sorry.
African American girl.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
been made fun
She
Nev
of.
wishes-
Campbell wanted to be
okay.
pretty.
But I'm saying, so
Yeah.
she wishes for a hot girl to become ugly, which basically happens in this movie. The white trash girl wishes to become rich, which is exactly what happens here. And
Nev Campbell has like the burn scars on her that she
Yeah.
wants to come off.
but then there was another one that's replicated in this movie too. What's the other one? It's become rich. And then somebody wishes
Popular.
for the kid to fall in love with her, and that's what happens. So
Yep,
3
yep,
of the 4 wishes in The Craft are represented here in this movie. And then Casey or Mark, somebody had like the example of. There's a couple other movies that it kind of feels like it's riffing off of also.
Oh, it feels like Mean Girls meets The Craft meets like
Right.
what's that? Wish Upon or
No, this is
No,
Wish
that's
Upon.
the name of this film.
no, what the hell am I thinking of? Wishmaster.
Wishmaster.
What's
Wishmaster,
that? Oh,
yes.
Final Destination.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Well-
they do a lot, and it's actually maybe like the one interesting thing about this is like someone is gonna die, they have to, because like this music box is playing, but then they do kind of cut around to like 3 different people doing different things. You don't know which one's actually gonna get it, and like it's a little interesting. Like if there's like a nugget there, like I actually thought that was kind of fun.
They
like,
only did that for like 2 or 3 of the kills though, because like the first like 3 kills are just like, and I was like somewhat joking about it over email. I had no freaking idea who the old man was when he got killed.
no,
like, well,
no,
the yakety sax. Like,
Well, I
followed
guess
the
it was
bathtub
her
guy.
grandfather, right? But the relationship was super
No, it's
unclear.
her.
uncle.
It's
Well,
her
whatever, yeah,
mom's
relative.
uncle.
Yeah.
It's also funny because really it takes a long time until the movie. I mean, whatever, you don't care about anybody, but at least towards the end of the movie, the characters that are dying, you've seen a bunch and you understand their connection to her. But yeah, a random old dude dies and she becomes rich, and you're kind of like, oh, that kind of like worked out all right for her.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was also this was like one. I mean, not to get into like too much serious criticism of the film because I almost like it gives it too much credit, but like I had no idea was there any connection between who died and the wish. Like
No.
when the uncle died, that wasn't when she made the rich wish.
No, she made another wish. Yeah, maybe for the kid to fall in love, or she wanted the kid to fall in love with her, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was the second one.
He died. Then the moment she found out he died, like without putting anything together, she runs over to the box, picks it up, and goes, "I wish he would leave us all his money." And then like 2 seconds later, Ryan Phillip comes in the room. He's like, "You won't believe what happened."
Yeah.
Guess what?
But like the woman who like died by her hair getting stuck in the like that was the neighbor. Like that was another one where I'm like
the friendly neighbor.
It was the one who was like watching her when she was a kid, I guess.
Yeah.
That was
always
also
very nice to her.
important to point out. It was Sherilyn Fenn from
Sherilyn.
Twin Peaks fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There was just a lot of that where like, especially in the beginning, I just didn't understand like the dad, like Willie won't he, and like where this like film for me, it actually like lost a little bit at the end because it obviously had to come to a conclusion, and there's really only one obvious way for it to go. So she like makes a couple like pretty serious wishes, like she's like trying to like undo shit at the end, but like it actually makes the film smaller because it like cuts out a lot of the other stuff that's going on. Like I can't, because the Barb friend never really, she falls down the stairs, but I don't think.
Definitely, like to Eric's point, she took like a giant breath before they zoomed in on her, and she was like supposed to be unconscious.
That fall down the stairs was one of my favorite moments in the entire movie because every moment of violence in this movie is so incredibly slapstick that it's like it's hilarious. Her falling down the stairs was just so funny.
Well, yeah. So the deaths are kind of like John said, like she makes a wish and then somebody dies, but it takes her a while to kind of connect what's happening. But the person dies in sort of
One would say it takes her too long to figure it out.
The person dies in sort of like a bootleg Final Destination way. In Final Destination, you know, the spirit of death is seen to be manipulating things, right? Like screws will turn or water will kind of spill, but it's always kind of shown to be a supernaturally forced kind of thing. This is just sort of really dumb accidents shot almost like
the cousin, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess. All the way
that was outrageous. Well, and you kept thinking she's going to get struck by lightning or she's going to fall over the railing. I mean, just
the second. I mean,
can I just double back quick since I didn't get a chance to say this? What I was trying to say earlier when Skype was being an asshole. So bad, but so funny. I was laughing like the entire time I was watching this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I agree.
I think Eric, though, your original or one of the questions you asked up front, or somebody mentioned at the beginning, like I think if I had to sit through this in a theater, unless I was with people and we were just like really yucking it up, like I would have been more pissed off coming out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If I had put effort and like spent like half a Saturday going to see this, like I would be super annoyed.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I think this is like the perfect way, or like we talked about, like if you can do this with like a group of friends, like I think it's a really good movie to goof on.
So,
well, I mean, John had like
if you
the
can find
perfect
someone
example
else that is, say, a slut for wontons, perhaps.
Yes, John had the perfect example of it because he said he wouldn't have even been able to watch as much of the movie as closely as he did if we didn't have that email thread going and three of us were watching at the same time to bounce back and forth. That's
this
exactly
might be a
what
good
we're describing.
new class. Maybe they watch this for
Oh, I think so. So Sophie pinged me earlier today and she was like, "Yeah, again, I'm traveling today. Like I'm thinking about watching Wish Upon. Is it scary? Like if I'm by myself in a hotel, will I be scared?" And I was like, "Oh dear God, no. You're gonna be just fine." And then
you
she
may
was all
make
pissed off.
yourself look like an asshole because you're laughing so hard.
Yeah, she was upset because she was like, "We really should have. We should have gotten this on."
Speaking of actually looking like an asshole, I watched this on the train while I was commuting, and of all the things that we've watched for this show that are like awful and terrible, and I've been like embarrassed, nothing has made me more uncomfortable than watching a 5-minute teenage girl makeover shopping spree. while someone is sitting next to me on the train. I was
especially
covering my,
especially because you were singing along to the song they were playing in the
I was
background.
like covering this like I'm watching porn. Like,
Yeah. So the first half of the movie is really bizarre because
just the first half.
people are dying. Well, no, it gets more bizarre. But my point is, people are dying, but it's not really affecting her. It's like, okay, her uncle died that they hated, and now they're rich. So yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have like the
Win-win.
rich family shopping montage. They buy the most ridiculous. So this is their like montage. Their idea of showing, okay, the family's rich now. They buy the most ridiculous house you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ryan Phillippe buys her some like ridiculous sports car. And this one scene they keep intercutting that I just found to be a hilarious representation of what they thought rich people did, which was to buy a giant platter of like fruit and like food and hors d'oeuvres and stuff and sit on the table and just eat it. Like, oh, we're just like, we're eating food, we're rich, yeah. And
We're
they're just like,
millionaires now. Let's go buy some donuts.
like they just needed one more scene to fill out that montage and they weren't sure what it was. And somebody was like, what if we just, I don't know, like got desserts?
Ladies
Get
be
that,
eating
like,
stuff. Let's get some zerts, some apps and zerts.
get one of those edible arrangements. Fancy people do that, right?
Yeah, and then for some reason during this scene, and I kind of miss this part, but Ryan Phillippe, you know, he's still kind of a scummy, but he's looking a little cleaner and he's kind of a little happier, and he decides he's gonna take up the saxophone again, which is like
It was unclear to me. I
Saxophone.
thought he had always been playing the saxophone because he like mentions going to gigs.
see.
Well,
I-
he hadn't
No.
played. He
No, I
hadn't played
th-
since the mom killed herself. But
Right.
She pointed
Yeah.
that out when he was loading up.
See,
the
when he
sax.
became rich, he was able to rediscover his music.
When they were
Loading
moving
up
on
the
up
sax.
to that deluxe apartment
I
in
think
the
what's-
sky,
I
he
think
was
what's-
putting his saxophones in the truck.
I think
There
what's
you
really
go.
funny about it to me, and I don't know, maybe, I guess if I think about it, like Ryan Phillippe probably was more normal before the mom died, but all we really see of him is just this kind of white trash garbage
Yeah,
picker
okay.
character. So the idea that this character that we're presented with plays the saxophone is
Well,
just on its
it-
face one of the
Sweetie,
funniest.
Daddy's got his sax drive back.
One of the
I mean-
funniest things in the whole movie. Like this dude plays bass guitar, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
Hey,
I don't mean that
watch
as a
the
ba-
bass guitar.
No, I don't mean that
comments.
as an insult. I'm just saying like the saxophone.
Well, to your point
what?
though,
It
it's,
is weird.
It's
super
never
weird.
funnier. I mean, it's funny the first time where she like hears him downstairs, like late at night playing.
The
It's
living
even
room, like playing in an open room for all to enjoy.
even funnier the second time where one of her wishes is, I wish my dad wasn't embarrassing. And then it cuts to her downstairs with her two friends watching him and of like a full band in their house. And so somehow him playing saxophone was an indication that he was no longer embarrassing. In my head, I'm like, I feel like maybe that should have
And
been the other
what
way
what
around.
makes it
Poor
even
Barb is experiencing urges she's never felt before.
and it's made only better by the fact that the actor Ryan Phillippe has clearly never touched a saxophone in his life.
He's got it's upside down.
It is
Blowing in the
really-
wrong end.
I mean,
Uh.
but that's like honestly part of the thing. One of the things I love about this movie is it's like it's just so nonsensical. The saxophone thing in particular is just the
Like
most
the right,
out of nowhere concept.
the idea that a bunch of people
Yeah.
sat around and said, "All right, this scene, what's the coolest thing we could have Ryan Phillippe do?" And someone came up with saxophone.
Well, that's where I come up with, and I'm kind of like, they
It's-
know this is a joke, right?
I
Like,
don't know,
that-
man.
That's
Yeah.
where John comes. That's where he comes.
But no, I have like this. I'm gonna ask like a very sort of out of left field question, but I like can't get it out of my head. So the mom has the wish box. That's
Yeah.
like where the wish box like originally starts. My question is, what was she wishing for? Because like
no!
they're not leading any sort of like insanely like wealthy or like
Right.
Is she
Yeah.
just like I like want my daughter to have like a bike with training wheels? Like
That
I,
puppy.
it's-
That puppy. Maybe
I
she
really
wish
wish
she
I
would
could
never
play
have to see her
saxophone.
daughter again.
She wished for
yeah, I
Ryan
wish my
Phillippe's.
husband would stop playing the saxophone.
She wished
Well,
for
that
Ryan
is-
Phillippe's beard to
not-
come in more full.
Not only that, but that big Chinese music box, not something that's going to be sitting somewhere in the house. Even if she hid it, it's still going to be noticeable. And then Ryan Felipe digs it out of the trash, what, like 12 years later?
But
and
no,
he doesn't recognize it?
So-
She's got paintings of
But
it.
also, if you give the box up, which she does by like dumping in the garbage, all your wishes are supposed to like reverse. So that means like the whole universe should have been immediately screwed up once she did that.
Well, and then why did she go kill herself after giving up the box?
Well, that's what I didn't understand. Like they kind of gave the like this backstory of the box, and everyone who has owned it killed themselves, but they never really explained like why that was a thing that happened.
Well, guys, it's
Yeah.
step 1, put a wish in the box. Step 2, put your junk in that box.
So yeah, the second, the first act and the beginning of the second act is funny / weird because, so she's getting her wishes. Her life is becoming demonstrably better, and the people that are dying aren't really affecting her because the old man, after he dies in hilarious fashion, they get rich, and then Sherilyn Fenn dies, but nobody finds out about it until the third act. So she's just skipping around school, having a like grand old time. We're getting like shopping montages, and they're rich, and Ryan Phillippe's got gigs and all this stuff. And then, but I don't even remember why. I guess maybe it's when they find out Sherilyn Fenn died that she starts getting curious and seeks out Dong's cousin in Chinatown or whatever. So this leads to what I think is the funniest scene in the movie. So they're going to Chinatown. They're going to Chinatown to, like, because and this is so like stereotypical. It's the worst. Like he's Asian, and his Asian cousin who lives in Chinatown can decipher this ancient Chinese writing.
Yeah.
And they're driving through the city, and they're like at a red light or something, and she looks over, and her dad is in a fucking dumpster on the corner of the street. This random dumpster in the middle of nowhere, and she just looks at him.
Outside a party where all her friends were.
Just be in a dumpster, Daddy. Just
It's like Ryan Phillippe drags the dumpsters around with him,
I
sets them up, and then starts diving.
I lost it because it's just like it's such a genius callback to the beginning of the movie, and it's so like such a non sequitur and out of nowhere. It's at night, like he's dumpster diving at night for some reason.
Well, and like they drove a long way.
You also left out. You also left out like the most important part of this entire interaction, where when they're setting it up, like basically he's like, "I'll help you decipher the box, but you need to give me something or whatever." And then finally he's like, "Well, you can get some." My cousin's a slut for wontons was his exact
Yes.
words.
Well, because
So-
she's like, "Do I have to pay her?" And he says, "No, she's a slut for wontons." Like,
And then-
Swanton.
So they bring her the
Jesus
wontons, and she
Christ.
deciphers the ancient Chinese writing. And then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna need some alone time with my
Yeah.
tots."
With my
Time.
times, yeah, just another example of like just the cringeworthy dialogue in this movie. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
bad.
Whatever. The sign
I
says I
like
go
that.
pee
I'm
pee
gonna
for
use
Coke. Okay,
tons
good.
going forward. Actually,
Tons.
I would like wonton of wontons, please.
Then she slips and impales herself in both eyes perfectly.
Poor gal.
But yeah, that whole scene, it's just
Movie's
that
so good.
that whole scene in particular, like the dumpster and then the deciphering and the wontons, that's when the movie really, really just kicks it into high gear of weirdness.
just complete.
Well, also, like, just to point out too, so this entire ridiculousness happens, then the dumpster happens, then she wishes her dad wasn't embarrassing, then her dad's playing saxophone downstairs with the full band.
Yeah,
That
the
happens
timeline
over the
is
course of like 15
the
minutes.
timeline is fuzzy in my head. But
Well, the other thing,
Please
one
progress
at some point, I can't remember if the wish that she makes that kills. So when she kills Dong's cousin, that's like when she like finally realizes that like, yo, I really got to stop making wishes because I'm
But she
like, legit
doesn't.
killing people. Well, no, she doesn't. True, but no, but I think that wish is when she wishes to be the most popular girl at school or something along those lines. But and someone else commented on this in the email. She's the most popular girl at school. Everybody like wants to like talk to her, except her two best friends.
Yeah. Her
who
two best
literally
friends
just
don't
treat
give
her
a shit.
normally.
Yeah.
Like somehow
They're like,
they're
why are you
immune
so
to the wish.
popular all of a sudden?
Yeah. They're actually like angry with her for being popular. It's the
They're-
weirdest
the
thing.
one best friend, the non-bar best friend, is the most obnoxious character, and it's all the writing. It's all just the lines. I mean, it's the delivery too, but
Well, she's playing that like shitty iOS game too.
she was really the one part of the movie that actually made me angry. Pretty much anytime she opened her mouth, yeah, she's playing this awful, like fake
That's
little.
the part of the movie that made you angry?
Yeah, she made.
Same.
Yeah, her dialogue is like the literal worst, and she's walking around playing an AR game with zombies, and it's just so stupid.
That's funny because Joe mentioned that and made the Pokemon Go joke in the email chain, and I completely missed that. I had no idea. That's how
Well,
close I was paying attention.
They
I guess.
showed it. They showed it at so early in the movie, in like the opening scene. You meet her because the one girl's like doing her painting on the wall or whatever, and she's like got her phone out. She's like, "Oh man, if I catch like 10 more zombies, then I'm the zombie dungeon provo master, and then I can
Yeah.
and then I can do that." And it's like, it's literally like somebody read the iTunes page of one of these games and just pulled a bunch of terms.
If I engage in fast-paced, touching action.
Yeah, so that she drove me nuts. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot where I was going with all that. But so
Nah, good rant, good rant.
I don't remember how it happens. But at some point, it's funny
Those
because even when
kids.
she the main character is a bad person, because even when she finds out all of the negative consequences that have happened, she still kind of just doesn't care, or doesn't really change until she has no choice.
Well, and
her best friend dies in a fiery elevator accident, and then the next day she's like trying to kiss the dude that like helped her out with all this stuff. It's like it's totally fine.
To that point, do we want to like fast forward and just talk about how this thing ends? Because
one more point though, because you made a really funny point over email. I think that I
don't even know what I said.
Maybe it was you, maybe it wasn't. But she gives up. She gives up the box, and so what happens when you give up the box is all your wishes are reversed, and they move back into their old house, which apparently they still owned and was still furnished with all their shitty furniture.
Well, and the way they handle that too, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and like all Ryan Phillippe's trash is still there.
You see cops downstairs, and then it immediately cuts to them in a truck, and they're like, "Who doesn't pay their taxes?"
Yeah.
There's like no A to B. That's one of the craziest things about this movie is that the timeline is not very clear. Like she has the dude fall in love with her, which is directly ripped from The Craft, and also he becomes obsessed with her, which was also ripped from The Craft. And then they're dating, and then they break up. Like, how long has this movie been going on? You know what I mean? Like, did they date for a day, or like what's actually,
Romance escalates quickly in high school.
This whole thing just happens it's unclear the period of time this entire movie.
3 years. It's a 3-year movie. They just didn't really show.
Let's talk about the ending, because like to your point about her not being a good person, like you don't actually care what happens to her.
No.
And so the ending of this film is actually quite gratifying, because crazy shit ends up happening to her.
Also fucking hilarious, like all caps hilarious.
Yeah. It actually goes right back, like it goes the most crazy off the rails like in the last 10 minutes in some ways. So the last 2 wishes that she makes, the first one is, I wish my mother was still alive. And I can't remember. She basically is like having like a freaking meltdown because, she's a teenager. But she's like, I wish my mother was still alive. Boom. Immediately, mom like walks into the room. There's also like 2 more kids now.
She's got like 2, like a brother and a sister now.
Yeah, they're like twins or something. I don't know.
Immediately cool with like, oh, cool, that's the thing.
I mean, you have to imagine that at this point, Ryan Phillippe's still playing the saxophone all the time, so they're probably fucking a lot, and just had 2 more kids.
Some sax on the beach.
So of course she knows that there's going to be a blood price. I can't say blood price. I don't know what the deal is. There's going to be a
You're
blood
trying
price
to avoid a stereotypical Asian accent. I can hear it.
It's bad. So she's like immediately, oh no, where is dad? Like, where is whatever? I think she calls him dad. I don't know. And
where's my dumpster daddy?
Yeah. You see him outside. He is using a chainsaw and cutting branches off a tree for like.
He's not using a chainsaw.
He's helping somebody.
It's even better. He's holding the ladder for a person that's using the chainsaw.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where
it's like swinging it at a branch too, just like up there, get it.
Yeah, well, it's like somebody, Casey, I think mentioned Final Destination earlier, or maybe Joe, like. This was a death scene from a Final Destination movie that they just were like, nah, this is garbage. Like, we shouldn't use this. So she's running outside. He's standing under this person using a chainsaw. As she's running outside, the chainsaw
that
hits
was
him in the
hilarious.
face, sprays blood all over her. It's just
one might say he got his ass.
Sorry, I zoned out for a second, so I apologize if you already said this, but before she even shows up, they are in the most unsafe work scenario you could possibly be in.
Yes,
poking at a branch with a chainsaw, like not even like trying to cut it, just like carve our name into that. We're gonna be friends forever.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're almost there, and he's like on one foot, like tippy-toe reaching with a fucking chainsaw. You're like, what?
She may have wanted to wish that her dad wasn't a fucking idiot. I think would have been good.
Like to be like he was headed there regardless of whether or not she came out and screamed his name.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if like you guys brought this up too. Sorry, but like, this movie, a lot of this movie is from The Craft, but it's also like very Final Destination-y. Like every kill is like close-ups on a pot of boiling water or a garbage disposal, or in this case, a very unsafe work situation.
I gotta say,
So-
just garbage disposal deaths. Just stop. Nobody. They're not fucking fun. They're not tense.
See,
been
I
done for
think
30
the thing
years,
that makes them like why people keep going back to it is because it's a scene. It is something that everyone has done. Is
Yeah.
put your hand down into that garbage disposal, and so like everyone has that like experience of being like, holy shit, if this thing turns on,
I know it's
gonna
just
suck.
stupid. My problem is that it only has so many ways that it can end, and I've seen all of them in movies.
Oh
Yeah,
well,
but we
know-
got the cutaway shot this time.
mm-hmm.
Like it was
Yeah,
actually, it was actually annoying me that they faked her almost turning it on. So it was like 4 times that she almost
Yeah,
brushed up
yeah.
Oh
against
yeah.
it.
When,
Well, that whole scene was literally like 3 minutes
Yeah, it was too
of
long.
her like fucking around.
Yeah,
with this
because
garbage
there's that
disposal.
the pot boils over and the gas
She's-
goes out, so you
She's
think
cutting
that's gonna happen.
vegetables. It's like it's
Yeah.
too much. Just kill her. I don't care.
I was curious to see how they were gonna kill her, like by cutting vegetables. Like she's accidentally gonna slice off her finger and then just keep going like all the way to the arm.
Oh,
Well,
God,
and
dear God.
initially too, they'd like take care to do like a build up before these scares, and then they're like, nah, fuck it. This person trips and dies, and this person has a
Yeah.
chainsaw dropped on their head, and that's it.
Hey,
All right,
jump
let-
ahead
Sorry,
here.
so
so-
John, keep going.
Well,
Dad's not dead.
Go ahead, Casey. I was
I
gonna
was
say I
gonna
want to
s-
bring it home.
Well, I was going to say before we get too far into the ending, because that is a good conversation, Sophie brought up a good point in the Slack chat in the Big Show channel where our Patreons are starting to chat about the show as we record live. Hint, hint. We didn't mention the surprise Jerry O'Connell cameo out
Holy
of
shit,
nowhere.
yes. Oh my God. There's what was it? It was like a photograph of like a
It's a-
relative or something.
It's
No,
a
it was the guy
flashback
that-
to like
The
he
guy
had
that
the box.
did the box or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
No, he was like the guy who like originally got it or like got his hands on
Right.
it after it like
And
resurfaced.
Jerry O'Connell is on screen for 2.5 seconds in this movie.
Yeah.
A role that did not require in any way you to get somebody that was recognizable.
Oh. This could have been a true story. This could be how Jerry O'Connell like
any
got his,
any
his-
schmuck off the street you could have brought in and been like, hold this box and look at it pensively for 2 seconds, and they bring Jerry O'Connell in to do the job.
How
They
do you think
missed
he,
a
how do you think he
real
met his wife? This is the real life
exactly.
story.
They missed like a real thing where he was like had his hands on. He's like, I wish I was married to Rebecca Romaine Staples.
The death was his career.
All
Oh.
right. So to bring this home, what's her name? Claire. So Claire gets the blood sprayed all over her face because she's just watched her dad get taken out in a hilarious work accident. She immediately, I think it's like basically the same sequence. She runs back upstairs. She like picks up the box. She's got one wish left at this point. She's like, I figured it out. Like I'm gonna take you down, box. And she wishes to go back to before she found the box. That's the wish. Like I just want to go back to before Dumpster Daddy brings me the.
She wishes to go back to the same day. Like, wouldn't you give yourself at least a day to game plan about how you're going to deal with this box showing up in your life? Like, no, she goes back to the moment that her dad's about
Well,
to
she
go out
does
to
it.
get
I
it.
mean, she does it. She gets rid of the box. Like she's successful in her.
Well, yeah, and we just got to spoil the twist because it's like very much worth talking about. It in my mind, it actually makes the film in some ways.
It's not
It,
bad.
it brings it home. So the twist is the blood price for the final wish is that she dies in what I would describe as the most hilarious car accident
Oh my
sequence
god.
ever
Like-
put to film.
Like cartoonish. Like she gets hit by a car and like flies like 30 feet in the air.
But she goes up.
Yes.
She goes
Yeah.
like she goes like up in an angle. It's very crazy.
And they do like a faraway cut, so you watch the entirety of
Oh.
her flying through the air.
There should have been a slide whistle like
I
to
mean,
accompany it.
I do not understand how anyone that's ever made a movie before, like shoots all these death scenes, and doesn't realize how fucking hilarious all of them are.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys talked about
That's
the
what I'm saying.
uncle,
I think
the
it could
uncle
be a
like
joke.
Yeah, we're done.
braining himself on the faucet, like he's drowning in the bathtub, and then he gets up and like bonks his head, and then dies.
It's the head.
like-
It's the head bonk that really makes it.
It was a
The
good bump.
elevator crashing was complete slapstick. I mean, the tripping into the statue, like it really is. They all should have had slide whistles. All of the deaths.
That's why I can go back to say, because of Ryan Felipe and his dad sax, yakety sax would have been a perfect soundtrack for this.
Yeah. So the car accident sequence, the thing that you guys will think I'm insane, but I just kept thinking that I felt bad for the bully girl who was driving the car because she's now basically like gonna go to prison for murder, but she's just like driving her car. Like I don't know, I felt bad for
Was
her.
she kind of smirking too when she came out of the car?
I thought so.
Yeah, I don't know. She was like an evil demon.
I'm just trying to figure out how fast could you possibly be driving to launch a person that far?
Oh yeah. That
Yeah,
was,
exactly.
Like
She's
they're in front of
the
school.
school.
Yeah, she's in a school zone. She's not driving 80 in a school zone, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jesus Christ, this movie is fucking great. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm. So it was good. They really brought it home. That final death sequence it slayed. It really
was a
slayed.
thing.
It redeemed the whole movie, right?
Well, and then the ending post credits.
I didn't see this. I'm gonna have to go back and
Oh,
watch
so
it
she tells the guy, right? She tells the guy to go bury the box.
Done.
Yeah, and the credit, like a little bit into the credits, they show him by like a river, like he's gonna throw it in the river, and then he reads it and he's like, "Ooh, 7 wishes," and then stares at the box.
which is weird because the first time around he couldn't read the inscription, which is why they had to bring it to his cousin.
Well, in this alternate reality in the multiverse, he understands Chinese and he respects his heritage.
Right, because because we're in now, like, or we're in like the past now, right? That he picks it up.
What will we know?
So he didn't know, because I was gonna say, wasn't he the first person to shame her? But I forgot that we went back.
Also, like in this reality where like none of this happens, she like comes up to him, like she kind of wants to date him. She gives him a kiss, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I know your cousin lives in a loft or something." It's like you didn't really have to go that hard, you know?
No, exactly.
I know your cousin's a slut for one time.
And what was the thing that happened? Wasn't there something that happened in kindergarten? Did she like fart or something and then like blame him?
Yeah, yes, I think that's exactly what it was.
Oh my god, that was the other. It just. Everything, and then everyone called him like McFarts or something. Was that? Yeah.
She comes up and apologizes for McFarts, and he's like, "Oh my god, are you serious? That's amazing that you're apologizing." Like he's been fucking plagued by it his entire life.
I didn't realize he was Scottish.
Yeah.
He didn't look it.
Oh Christ. Yeah,
All
this movie.
Hey Mark. Hey Mark.
Oh no.
He's
That's
Wow. Okay.
timely.
All right. Would you recommend this movie, Joe?
I don't know how to do this. Yes, with friends. No, on your own.
Casey.
Yes, in the proper atmosphere.
John.
Yeah, I'm just going straight yes.
I think, like, you know, if you're a person that can watch a silly bad movie on your own, like, go for it. Otherwise, with friends and some beers is not a bad way. It's ridiculous and it's bad, but in a way that I wasn't expecting, I guess I would say.
Did you try calling on me?
Yes, I did. Hi.
Yeah, we did.
This movie was very roastable, is all I'd say. So you should watch it.
Do you want to give us
kind of situation?
Do you want to give us a sampling of the movie guide, quick?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, my connection's kind of shit in the bed, so let's see how this goes. Movieguide.org, our favorite website, reviews movies for objectionable content. And finally, they've changed their layout back to one that I can use. So, Wish Upon features a very strong pagan occult worldview where female protagonist is overcome by her greedy interest in a powerful occult artifact granting wishes that end up hurting people with occult rituals that could be seen as witchcraft. And the occult artifact summons a demonic power not only to make wishes come true, but also summons a blood sacrifice with each wish, with some moral elements against the demonic entity and the box in which it's trapped. But the occult evil is too powerful. 13 obscenities, including 1 F word, 3 strong Jesus profanities, and 12 light profanities. Some very brief, strong, very gory violence includes teenage girl wishes another person will rot, and an occult wish box causes the other girl's flesh to start rotting. A man hits his head on a bathtub and dies while bleeding profusely, and a character impales their head on a pointy object. And other violence includes SUV suddenly slams into one character and they go flying into a windshield, multiple hangings throughout the movie, death by contusion and broken neck, and a mention that a person in the past committed suicide by ingesting opium. Light sexual references including a brief talk about doing it, plus some kissing, upper male nudity, girl in bikini, and heroin shows some female cleavage. Female cleavage, okay. Some underage drinking, no smoking or drug use, and strong miscellaneous immorality includes greed, revenge, and stealing.
Stealing.
Stealing. It's bad.
Let me ask one last question about this movie.
I just want to point out that this was the debut of female cleavage in movie guide reviews, which I think is hilarious. Just the specificity of it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for male cleavage. We'll
It
see.
could be male. Yeah, it could be. When this originally was getting when the trailers were out, and we saw this trailer a ton.
Yeah.
The thing that I remember thinking, and I don't know why, is that there was they were definitely trying to that this was a movie they were going to try to take to China and make a lot of money with it. Based on what I looked up how this did. This was made for about $10 million. It it basically flopped pretty hard. It made like 14 million in the US. It has no worldwide box office. Did I just imagine that, or do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember that at all.
I don't know what
Yeah.
They wanted them to edit out the slut for wontons line, and they refused, so they just never
No.
ended up releasing it in China.
No, you know what it could be? There was a bunch of bus and payphone signage for this, like posters and shit. And I swear to God, a lot of them in the ones that they used in New York anyway had Chinese symbols on it, which is in the movie. So it's not weird that but I don't know. It just felt like it was a different marketing angle than you would normally see for Annabelle, for example. So
We
That's, I
we
guess,
should
what I
say
was-
too that the cousin, the wonton cousin, she has the most ridiculous city apartment that nobody would ever have, where it's like every movie in the 90s, a teen had an apartment like this where they literally live in I don't even know what to call it, like a warehouse.
Yeah, like an artist loft.
Yeah,
and also they were like, oh, so and so committed suicide with opium, and she's like, oh, how romantic. It's like, what? What the fuck is that supposed to be?
So
Huh?
sexy.
All right,
Give me
guys.
those
You're gonna do
tons,
it.
and I'm gonna go to town.
It is time. The funny thing is that might be the longest review we've done in months. So there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
It is time to take a break so that we can do some fan mail.
He was a quiet guy, a bit of a loner, and a really big hockey fan. Let TNT give you the creeps with 5 of the best Friday the 13th movies, all in one night. Try and survive a Friday the 13th marathon, starting tomorrow night at 8 on TNT. Brought to you by Godzilla.
This is Jake Busey. You're listening to the Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Casey just got me all excited by saying that Shudder was thinking about bringing back Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah, they said they'd like to, so nothing definite yet. So
I mean,
don't go tweeting everybody that
I wonder.
saying that
I won-
Casey Criswell of Bloody Good Horror says they're doing it.
I do wonder how old Joe Bob Briggs is, but I will say that Monster Vision is maybe the most formative memory I have when it comes to the horror genre. Like second only maybe to just video stores. But
Oh, yeah.
I very distinct. There are a handful of movies that I have a great reverence for, just silly bad movies like Maximum Overdrive, almost exclusively because I remember seeing them on Monster Vision when I was a kid. And I
For
never,
me, it was Joe Bob and Rhonda Shear on Up
Oh,
All
yeah.
Night.
so they also
nice.
had right because
Yep.
sometimes he would do the thing that wasn't horror; it was just regular movies. Is that what Up All Night was?
Yeah.
There were some just super cheesy movies, but
And
yeah.
then didn't he do a show before cable on Showtime, like Joe Bob at the Drive-In or something? I've never seen that.
That's actually your brother and I watched Frankenhooker for the first time on
That's
Joe
awesome.
Bob Briggs driving, on Showtime.
I did years ago. I think Casey or maybe I downloaded it. I downloaded a torrent with
Oh, that was me.
entire episodes of Monster Vision, just with the terrible quality VHS for it, but it was amazing. Just seeing all the little interstitials and stuff.
Yeah.
I would be actually probably pretty hard into that if they brought it back. So, you all right, Schnars? You don't seem to share my love.
I'm looking at the BGH classics.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we don't have any email. So go for it. Info. If you do want to email us, it's info@bloodygoodhorror.com.
All right. BGH classics. These are for our friends and listeners who are going through and listening to some of those back episodes of Bloody Good Horror that you haven't had a chance to experience, which you can do by becoming a patron, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. First one, I think this one we did not hit last time. So this is from Library of Congress. That's at Library O Congress. I forgot the ep number, but I heard about Turkman from Joe describing it in a classic episode. He then went on to riff about Torqueman, an old man in upstate New York who would jump on the hood of your car and shake his ass. Look at it, don't you dare look away.
That's great.
Holy shit, I remember that.
Somebody-
I almost like wet myself laughing at my
Yeah,
my own
this
jokes.
person was tweeting about Turkman last week, and we were asking if he was from upstate New York or if he actually knew that.
Oh my
Man.
god.
Oh.
Twerkman.
So
Turkman was the guy at the end of one of our streets, right? He was the one that would like run out.
Yeah. It was actually Scotia, but yes.
Whatever.
So wait, it was a real guy?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was just you riffing about a fake fucking dude that rhymes with Turkman.
No, Turkman was real. Twerkman was not.
Oh, okay.
So
There
that-
you go. Okay.
Not
there
yet.
was a guy in our town who would jump on the hood of your car.
That's why I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Super uncomfortable.
So the next one is actually a three-parter from Skizbot. I don't know if I want to read it because it actually is from the pre-show from episode 455, which was like 2 episodes ago.
Instant classic.
So I'm gonna move on. But if anyone wants to see it, you can search the hashtag BJ's Classics. Skizbot, we get a couple of them from you, so we'll get you in next time. The next one is from Megan. That's at Third Breath. She says episode 402 Arrival, and this is about my doppelgangers. Shelton asks, "How many schnarzes are there?" And I said, "It's most white people." So, which I maintain is still the case. So yeah, that's what we got. BGH Classics, and let's move over to our other hashtag. Ask BGH. Let me just quickly. Sorry, I usually pull it up beforehand and I didn't. Oh, we got a bunch this time, so we'll dig right in.
By the way, I gotta say it's another example of the longer tweet length really accentuating Ask BGH.
There you go.
Like I crossed the threshold. It took me a little while to be comfortable with exceeding the old character limit, and now I
140.
feel like there's no going back.
Yeah, no, I'm into it.
All right, so here we go. First one, Ben Warrington. He's at Ben Warro, Warro. Bloody good is a British term, and being a fish and chip eating tea drinker myself, what UK horror films do you like the most? Or underrated indie UK horror films? Also, my dog recently had his leg amputated, and now when I jump watching films, I can't grab it anymore. I'm not 100% sure what that last
Yeah,
part
I
is
didn't
about,
understand that either when I read it. I mean,
I feel like you really buried the lead on that.
I would say
on
the
that,
the
yeah.
Descent is probably the best British horror film ever made, right? What could be better?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking like straight up best,
The Lady in Black.
I really have a soft spot for the Sightseers or just Sightseers. I can't remember which
Yeah.
we reviewed a long time ago. And the gentleman recently resurfaced in what's it called, Dark Song. I like the British films that are kind of like just slightly off kilter, like the dark comedy horror movies are always
Were they Shaun
kind
of
of
the
some of
Dead?
my
What's
faves.
that now?
Well, that's more. I would call that. That's not really dark or black comedy. That's just kind of just funny. I don't know. The other one is Attack the Block. That was
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was
Doy,
British.
the best.
That was our best. That was our number one of the year a couple years back. So
It's one of my favorite movie, if not my most favorite movie I've ever watched for the show. I love it so much.
yeah, super good.
And now
all right.
John Boyega's like the biggest star in the world on account of the Star Wars.
Doesn't hurt getting involved with the old Lucas folk. Anyone else want to jump in?
No.
Okay.
Attack the block now.
So Monica, at me Corazon, mi amor. I thought about censoring this one, but I'm gonna let it go. What's the bigger hot mess, Wish Upon or Vodka Schnars?
Vodka Schnars.
Vodka Schnars is definitely more sexual. So
I mean, I would definitely
Yeah, factor
classify
that
Vodka
in.
Schnars as a dumpster daddy, so I think there's more a crossover than we're giving
Wish,
credit
Wish
for.
Upon is only an hour and a half. Vodka Schnars goes on for hours.
all night, yeah.
And there's sequels. Like we've conjured up Vodka Schnars more than one time.
It's a whole franchise at this point.
Yeah.
Needs way more attention.
Next question, Tam Hunks. That's at Maniac Cop 3. Don't you think Wishbone had the best comical death scenes? The old guy in the bathtub and hair in the waste disposal. Can you think of any other horror death scenes that came across as funny but shouldn't have?
I'm sure there's plenty out there, but I mean, it's
I
hard to think back after seeing a whole movie full of them.
I think you go to like a ton of the Friday the 13th.
Yeah, like the sleeping bag, the original
Yeah.
sleeping bag
The
death.
Oh,
sleeping
yeah,
bag death
of
is like really high on the list for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we
And
lose Eric? I feel like Eric should have like a million of these.
I can't think of any. I mean, I can think of a lot of funny horror movies that weren't supposed to be, but like specific death scene. I mean, at some point, that's what Final Destination turned into.
Yeah.
Well, and the Saw movies. I mean,
Well,
the Saw
yeah,
ones like
sure.
aren't even funny because they're actually like so graphic and you're just
The
like,
last-
Jesus Christ.
The last Saw movie had some pretty silly
Well,
shit.
what was
in it.
the one of the last
Yeah, the
Final
3D
Destination
one.
movies that didn't someone's
Schnars,
like
we-
ass got stuck in the filter? You remember that? Like it basically like sucked their
Oh,
guts
right,
out
right,
through
right.
their ass at the bottom of a pool.
Schnars, we just saw another Saw movie like 2
I didn't
months
see
ago.
it. Jigsaw.
Oh, okay. It's bad.
Yeah,
Did you
I-
see Saw?
I gathered that.
Did you see Saw?
So Brian Lassiter, that's at BE Lassiter. He asks, what is the proper etiquette when moving through a tight area where someone is sitting at crotch height? Should you present your crotch to their face or your ass?
Ass. Always
And
butt.
he did use the ass. He used Ask BGH and then Ask Life Coach Joe as his other half.
Yeah, I think we were talking
Oh.
about that recently. Yeah, I think butt, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a butter.
It's less aggressive.
Oh yeah, it's definitely way less aggressive to go ask.
Well, because you're also if you go the other way, you're also facing the person.
Yeah,
as you're
you
doing
make
it.
eye
It's just-
contact.
Yes,
That's
right.
the worst part.
Right. If you turn around, you can just act like it's not happening.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, my ass is in your
Like-
face. I just can't see it
like
happening.
every-
I just can't see back there.
like
Sorry.
everyone
It's just
in-
how body
Whichever
works.
way you go, just make sure you say you're welcome as you go by.
Like everyone involved can pretend like it's not
As
happening.
Joe
you know what I
hops up
mean?
on the hood and starts twerking.
Yeah.
I have an important Twitter update.
Work,
Sophie,
work, work,
Mark
work.
wants Sophie wants you to know that the correct term for when somebody dies by having their guts pulled out their butt is transanal evisceration.
Oh,
That's
Super
my
gross.
they make my
I
favorite.
don't know if I
they-
want to inquire further as to how she obtained that knowledge.
Fun fact: they make my favorite Christmas music.
Yeah. Heyo. Look
Well
at you.
played.
Oh, God.
He's still awake.
Oh, God.
Congratulations. He did it.
All right, next one comes from Brian as well. This is another Ask Life Coach Joe. What beer would you pair best with this year's Super Bowl?
Oh dear God. I would say you would mix a Yingling and a Sam Adams being poured out by a racist inbred.
See, you should have gone something noble like the Mighty Eagle. That would have been the right play here.
No, inbred is the Phillies. Racist is the New Englanders.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
How you feeling about that, Schnars? About Philly in the Super Bowl?
Feeling all right.
I didn't even really think about the New England Philly thing we got going on here, John.
Oh, it's a thing now?
I guess
Come on.
might as well.
Are
be,
you
right?
a Patriots fan now?
I watch them. I don't know. You got to be able to talk about them, otherwise you can't survive here.
No, that's fair. That's a fair point. We got one more week. We can get into it next week, maybe. So, next question.
I'll just say this: you don't want to be down by 10 points in the fourth quarter. That's not going to go well for you.
Oh no. I don't know if we'll be in that position. So,
All right.
Dustin Demore. I don't know. Dustin, let me know if I'm saying that right. If Eric was so put off by the way people spoke in Killing of a Sacred Deer, does he also hate Wes Anderson films?
So
Similar affectations.
I thought that
going
was
on there.
interesting. I've never seen one.
What?
Wow. Anything?
No,
Oh
I
my
can't think of one
God.
I would assume.
That's wild. That
So
is quite wild.
I don't think we talked about it on the show, but he has a new stop motion animation film coming
Yeah.
out that I am super pumped for.
Yeah. I really liked. Was it the something
Fantastic
Fox or
Mr.
whatever?
Fox.
Yeah, it was great.
So good.
Looks good.
Really liked it. Eric, you really should watch one of those movies. Like Rushmore is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Is it like the
Ah.
killing of a sacred deer though? Because now I'm worried.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Although
his
I suppose if I got the point that was supposed to be funny, I maybe would have enjoyed it more.
Well, Wes Anderson just also has like a very, very specific directing style.
Like a
I guess it's
dry
like-
sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
is what he
say
said.
if you were gonna start with one, I would go. What is it? The Royal Tenenbaums. I think that one's a little more accessible than Rushmore.
Yeah, it's fair. You don't want to go with like Life Aquatic or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't love Jason Schwartzman either. No.
See, Rushmore was like I think his first thing.
This is what like the first one he was known for. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the more reason for Royal Tenenbaums then. If you.
What's the one, Joe, with the kids who go on like the camping trip? That one.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. but I
Moonlight
cannot-
Kingdom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Moonlight
there you go.
Kingdom. That movie's fabulous. So I don't know.
Or
yeah,
you know what? Bottle Rocket is actually awesome too.
yeah.
Should
that
we
was his first movie.
Maybe we'll start
Yeah.
a Slack poll with like what's one Wes
I
Anderson
can't.
movie should I
I'm like
watch?
mind blown.
I love this new trend. Quick Patreon plug. Eric has this newfound thing where he's discovered he can do Slack polls, so he's
We
having
talked
our
about it.
Slack channel make life decisions for him, like
Yeah.
the next book he should read. And so if you want to get in on that action, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
We talked about it before you showed up late.
Oh, cool. Good.
So Dilly D Williams at Dilly D Williams. What do you all think about the Oscar nominations, especially having Get Out nominated for Best Picture, Director, and Actor? So we addressed this up front. I don't know. Does anyone have any additional thoughts at this point?
No, I
It's
think
amazing.
I think we covered it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty pleased.
I don't know if you guys said this, but I feel like Shape of Water is like really lined up to do like
Yeah.
really well. I
See-
mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it has the most nominations. Like it's definitely going to win a ton of the technical awards, and then it'll just be a question of it, if it really gets on a roll. And
I'm really pulling for Boss Baby.
oh my God,
Fuck
don't
you.
get Joe started.
Baby Boss.
Mark, have you read the book?
My baby, boss baby.
No, we're not at Boss Baby age yet.
Oh my Lord. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on, guys. We have a lot of these, so I'm going to move into the speed round here.
Yeah. We know.
Monica asks, BGH Hall Pass edition. Who would you quote spirit bang? I have no idea what this is in reference to. So if anyone else does,
I mean, John. I assume we'd all say John. Right? That's what she means, right? Who on the show we would fuck?
what does spirit bang? I'm assuming is it like a dead person? Like
Yeah, I guess
was this in
anyone.
Wish Upon?
living-
Was there a spirit bang? I don't think, but I don't know.
Is that like Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sure. Does anyone want to throw one out?
No, I
Nope.
do not.
No.
Move on.
We're gonna need clarification. We're gonna need a millennial definition for spirit bang, please.
Monica, hit us up. Clarify. Joshy Drug Free. That's at Gorilla Axe Punch. So does this mean that in the next Insidious, Lin Shaye will be a Star Wars-esque Force ghost? Use the further, Luke.
Fucking A, Will. Dare to dream. I'd be excited to see that.
Nah.
Well, she's gonna channel it through that other woman, right? So, okay. Adam Steinbacher. That's at Mean Shadows. He says 2 questions. Was Wish Upon as bad as or worse than Stay Alive and My Soul to Take? We asked and answered. And should I tell my family I named our cat Mikey after Michael Myers when they think it was after Mikey the Ninja Turtles for the kids?
I think you should name it Wonton.
Yeah.
Or just Ton, maybe, for
I've
sure.
named this cat Ton because I am a slut for wontons.
He says not sure how much longer I can roll with this deception. I don't know. I'd say let him know.
Yeah. Live your life.
Has anyone seen Stay Alive? That was the other movie he referenced.
No.
I have.
I'm not familiar.
It's pretty bad.
So
Wasn't that
then
that was a video game movie, right? Wasn't that the one where
Oh yeah, maybe.
they're like being killed inside of a video game? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't even know what you're talking about now. Skizbot
Yeah.
checks in.
it's
He
real
says, Wish Upon is like a teeny version, like I assume he means like teens not small, version of Wishmaster, but even shittier and unintentionally hilarious. What 90s horror do you want to see rebooted as a rad teen horror franchise?
Oh, The Craft. How about The Craft? No,
I mean, wasn't that already a rad teen horror franchise
Yeah,
from the
sorta.
90s? I was going to go with like Pumpkinhead or something like that,
yeah,
but like a teen version.
sure.
All right, cool. Anyone
know.
He's
else?
called Pumpkinhead, but his head doesn't resemble a pumpkin.
So Skizbot actually has another question. He says, "What other movies could benefit from including some hot, sexy man sex?"
Every movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's not a ton that don't. I honestly think it had to be a joke, and maybe even a callback to Lost Boys. Like that to me would be the genius of this movie.
It just
if
made
that were
me.
true.
It just made me think of Bill Clinton. That's pretty much all saxophones.
Does
make me think of.
anyone playing the saxophone make you think of Bill Clinton?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Oh God.
His cat is named Socks.
Good times. All right, Craig. That's at 4Color Craig. He says, "What do you guys think of horror/genre getting taken more seriously by the Academy this year? Does Get Out have a chance at grabbing some Oscars?" Again, kind of hit it, but
Yeah, we hit it earlier.
the he did retweet though a pretty funny GIF. Let me see if I can. I'll send this to Eric and you can put it in the video. It's what's the guy who's like the dad who like is like cool. He's like woke, the dad in Get Out.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That guy.
It's like a meme version of that, and he says, I'd have nominated Get Out for Best Picture 3 times if I could have. So, clever.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
So, and then he just said he just responded to his own tweet and said, "Just noticed this has already been asked. Enjoy the meme. So, are you guys going to discuss The Shape of Water now?" I think we probably will.
Sure. Why not?
I can't. I haven't seen it yet, but I really can't wait. I feel
We
like
probably
I'm gonna love it
should
so much.
we probably should before the Oscars. We were already thinking about getting it in there.
We got a couple weeks. All right, 2 more. Dilly D. Williams. Also, do you think that with Get Out being nominated, that this could open the door for more horror/thrillers getting nominated in the future?
I mean, Get Out is like exceptional and so different. I don't see like an Insidious or something getting nominated. It would have to be
I
like
think that Get Out specifically is hitting a social note that's really resonant right now, and that's why it was recognized. And I think that also it has a minority director, which is something that the Academy's been criticized for a lot, and they just love Del Toro. Like filmmakers love Del Toro, so I feel like he just even though it's a genre
really
thing,
good.
he did. But I think that he's good in a way that the Academy loves. It's like
Yeah, that's fair. We should talk about Shape of Water because I think it actually hits on not the same notes as Get Out. It actually a lot of different, but like is in some ways itself like a film that's about like it very much about sort of like social issues, let's say. So yeah. All right, last one. GTA Heist. That's at WSBB Productions. I thought when she asked to be the guy's boyfriend, I couldn't hate her more. Then she has to be the most popular kid in school. People are dying. Think she was at all a decent person?
no, she's a terrible person.
Yeah,
It's
she's
bore
a-
out repeatedly throughout the course of the movie.
It's why the hilarious death that befalls her is amusing. So
Also, did anyone point out that she was the deaf child from Crazy Stupid Love?
So she's actually in a ton of stuff. I looked at her credits because I'm like, I thought she was terrible in this, like really, really bad. But again, we talked about how it's probably just the script. Yeah, she was in The Conjuring, I think. She's in like a ton of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, that's where I recognize her from.
Yeah, she's
Good
just in that
times.
awkward growing out of the child actor stage into the tween actor stage. So that's always awkward for him a bit.
Yeah, it's not good. So that's all we got.
Nice.
Oof. All right.
We did it.
You gonna make it, Eric? We just gotta turn the music on.
The craziest thing about the show is that Mark was on the show, but he missed the entire conversation about the Cheese Man.
I know. I feel like with my late arrivals, I always miss some like really fucking crazy thread that someone has to catch me up on.
Sorry, dude. You're gonna have to go back and listen.
Oh, I will.
Look, it's a wagon wheel. Yeah. What do we do next week? Do we know? I don't think we do.
Well, so we got an open week. We've discussed obviously Shape of Water. We've also discussed there's a new release on Netflix that sounds like it might be pretty bad,
Yeah.
but you know, we're gonna check out some stuff.
Cool.
We'll definitely let people know.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. That's gonna do it for our discussion on Wish Upon. Hope you enjoy the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Bye-bye.